Hi, Greg.
Hello, how are you? Sorry about that. Was on mute.
No problem. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I was just trying to kick this year off and get us
Mm,
going. Trying to keep Gates and Linux aligned.
Hi
Uh,
Greg. Hi Sandy.
Hey,
Hi
how are
there.
you? Plus, we've got a variety of new people coming online, so I got to talk with Justice about that. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, seems to be lots going on already.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. I checked into getting a hold of this stuff from the all hands the other day. And I can't find it online, so I've got to ask about that.
Yeah.
Um, it's first one for the year, so they're probably not very organized. Hey, Justice. Hey, Ben. How are you? Hello.
This you're on mute.
Hello.
Well, that stops any
Hey.
background noise by accident. Hi, Arif, Greg,
Hi.
Sandy, Benjamin, Ahmad, and Joshua's note taker.
Yeah.
Yeah, given that this call is recorded and transcribed by LFX, I'm gonna kick out that note taker.
Yeah.
All right, Josh.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Colin. How are you?
Very well, Greg. How are you? Compliments.
Yeah, it's been a long week already. But
Yeah. Happy New Year, Ben, as well.
yeah,
It is Thursday, so for me, 80% of the week is done already.
yeah, yeah. It's the beginning of Thursday over here. So yeah.
Greg or Ben, I guess. Do either of you know if Matt is going to make the meeting? I have apologies from Foley.
I,
Without
I
Matt, we'd
do not, but Matt has canceled most stuff this week. Um, so he may be gone. I've got a
um,
meeting with him tomorrow. I catch him up. I'm going to be meeting with Todd tomorrow to talk about things as well. And Colin, that goes for you sent out that invite for the community stuff. We need to get feedback from Todd probably before your meeting. So I don't think he's going to say anything that detracts from that, but we still have to include his viewpoints and Ben's viewpoints in that as well. And I'm
Okay.
gonna and I have a meeting, like I said, with him tomorrow. So, yeah, otherwise Justice, I'll shut up. So I'll be quiet and let you run the show here.
no problem. I am just if we do need a decision today, and we likely will, because we have the Pacers team here as well to present one of the things that they are working on and that they wanted the TSC to give some input into. If we need a decision today, I don't know if we have a quorum with
Uh,
only Greg and myself.
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, you only need a quorum if you need to do a formal vote. So if
Um,
we,
okay, sorry, Ben, go ahead.
Oh yeah, so generally like TSCs operate on consensus. Um, if this is something that is you want Matt's voice on, then we can do a an email vote or an electronic vote. So that's not a problem. And this is recorded, so he'll be able to watch the recording.
Right. And I do also, it's a pity Foley's not here today because I think this might venture into more of a technical area. But let's see how it goes. I did read through the background and the brief a little bit. So maybe just to recap, I had an agenda for today. So the first thing is our antitrust policy. Please read that. If you have any concerns around antitrust, if you're a Linux employee, contact our lawyers. If you're not, contact your own lawyers. And then beyond that, we did have a little bit of an agenda, but I would rather save most of these items then for a wider audience. Everybody in here is largely from the Linux team. The probably most relevant topic that I have for this audience is a heads up around the expansion of the TSC audience at large. I think that's something that we want to ratify also at with our executive director Greg, but I don't expect that that would be too much of a challenge. But we do have a number of Matt. Hello, Matt. Welcome. We do have a number of people who are currently actively contributing or working on Tazama, so it would be good if we could formally invite them to attend this meeting as well. I did have a specific request from Karim in the last couple of weeks. We have not made a great effort to actually recruit people as an audience for the TSC. People have found us on their own and generally participated, and we have instructed people to come to the TSC if they have something specific to present. So we will be expanding the TSC audience for our next TSC meeting in 2 weeks. And we will go into a bit of a recruitment drive to poll all of our active participants and community members to put forward a volunteer to come and join us at our technical bonfire. Then that takes me then to the first item of the agenda, which we did want to talk about from a technical perspective. I'm going to hand this over to the PACES team. There was a discussion that came up in one of our user stories around the Keycloak versus the Tazama token. Some of you may remember that the Tazama token is our own internal abstraction of the Keycloak token, which allows us then to change the identity and access management vendor without impacting our forward-facing systems. That Tazama token was implemented very much on a just-in-time functionality basis. So we only carried forward the token information that was relevant for the functionality that we were hoping to use at the time. The PACES team have now identified some additional functions that they would like to also expose through that Tazama token. So I'm going to hand over to the PACES team. I'm going to stop sharing, and then if you want to take us through the background and the problem statement and the proposed solution, and then we can have a look at that. So I'm stop sharing and then go for it.
Sure, Justice. Thank you. So let me share my screen. Okay, so is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay, great. So basically, we are working on the login and logout part, or basically the authentication service, and we are using auth service and auth lib for that purpose. Right now, we are working on Tazama Connection Studio, Tazama Rule Studio, and case management system. And these three applications are web applications, and that's why these require login and logout functionality as well as the session management, so that users can be able to access on the basis of their roles. And also we need to ensure that we provide the best user experience as well as we provide the security that is much needed for these systems. And let me just give you overview about how the sequence diagram that I picked from Tazama documentation, which is that how we are going to take the JWT token or Tazama token. For example, a person comes to the login page for Tazama Connection Studio, and they provide their credentials, which is username and password. And then this application goes to auth service and then auth and then to the key clock, where key clock gives us the token, which is then encapsulated into Tazama token, and then it is sent to us. Now, if we see that the what is the login flow, so this is basically what I just explained. So we have this API call to where we provide the username and password, and then we get the JWT token in this format, from where we get the information. And what is the information that we are getting from Tazama is that there are like roles or username, and also the token expiry date that comes like this to us. For example, if it is 3600 seconds, so it's 1 hour. So this expiry time is actually configurable from key clock. So whatever expiry time of the token we set on the key clock, so we get the exactly that part into our token in expires in. And right now the problem that we are facing is users are being logged out, because right now Tazama token works in a way that it does not refresh the token based on the user activity. So let's say that if you log in just right now, so by providing your username and password, so right after 1 hour, although you are working on something, you are making new connections or creating new rules, or maybe as an investigator, you are checking the cases, so you will be logged out. So this is the main problem where we see that the user experience is not according to the industry standards. And this is why we are actually requesting that either like these three things are normally what we find in the OAuth environment, where we have web applications. For example, usually we have the refresh token functionality, because Keycloak provides us the refresh token. But on the basis of refresh token, we are able to generate new token, which gives us the rolling window of, let's say, another 1 hour based upon the user activity. So right now there is this functionality is absent from the auth service, and also there is no way for us to verify Tazama token. Like we get the expires in time, so we have to check in our code that what is the expired time of that token, and based upon like custom logic, we are able to log out the user. But this is not the actual way or industry standard way. And also there is the logout functionality that is missing from the auth service. That's why, let's say that if you our token is compromised, so we are, or maybe if a user logs out, so in actual Tazama token is still is active. If someone gets hold of that token, so still he will be able to make the request through the Postman API or backend. So that's why overall, these are the things that are needed in the auth service or auth lib level. But the scope of these changes is, we can say, the core functionality of auth service, I believe, and auth lib is that if we are going to make the changes, so that will be changing the Tazama token behavior from our end. And that's why we are expecting that maybe Tazama team may take this up, and because they have more understanding of the Tazama token and its behavior. So I think that we would request that these functionalities should be added into the auth service or auth lib. Thank you.
A couple of questions from me. So, what is the impact of the change now? Because if we are making changes to the Tazama token, we kind of need to backfill that change. So, there would be a change to the auth lib. There would be a change to the authentication service. There would be a change to the Keycloak plugin itself. And we also need to just keep in mind that I believe Cybrin have also created a plug-in for their own identity and access management system. So we may also want to give them a heads up and some information that they can work with if they also want to update their own plugin. Um, then,
Yes, yes,
so if
yes.
maybe let's start there, if you maybe have like a summary of the change and the impact.
Right. So basically, Justice, for the changes, I discuss it internally with Soban and Azim as well. So I believe that these are like core part of Auth and Auth service, and maybe if Cyber team has initially worked on these services, so they have best knowledge of making changes to these services, because right now we do not have like full visibility of how this is going to impact other areas like you mentioned. So that's why we are requesting that these services, these functionalities are added by maybe Cyber team or someone who is like managing or maintaining the auth service and auth lib.
So at the moment, nobody else is managing and maintaining it. So if we require this change now as part of the project, then we'll have to make that change as part of the project. This is a key dependency in the back end for the front end, which currently doesn't exist. So we'll have to create it. Nobody else is going to be able to create this for us.
Right, Justice. So I think like for that part, maybe we need some more discussion, or maybe because we have some potential solutions that we research about. Ahmed has also researched about it, but right now we need to maybe need another session to see that what are the impacted areas. Maybe a session with Cybrin at some other
Sure.
time, so we can see that how we can add those functionalities without disturbing the other parts.
So just as a summary then, what is the approach here? So we want to be able to add a refresh token. How does that actually work? Just as a recap. I am aware that we were
Yeah.
thinking about a refresh token when we originally created the authorlib, but we parked that for sort of a downstream investigation. And it sounds like we are now at that point downstream where we need to think about it. So if you could maybe just give us
Yes.
a little bit of insight into how the refresh token itself works.
Okay,
Yes, sure.
hey
So
Tim,
yeah, so
should I go
Ahmed,
on?
yes. Yes, so here I would request Ahmed to present his findings. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Ahmed from Basis. Um, for now, the refresh token is actually a core part of Keycloak functionality. Right now, if I am looking at Keycloak, like if I initiate a request to Keycloak for login, at the auth level, I do get the refresh token. The auth code has a variable for it as well, but at the moment when auth creates the Tazama token, it kind of discards the refresh token. The refresh token functionality is a key part of, like a core part of Keycloak. Uh,
Right.
at the time, it is not being used or utilized at auth or auth service level. So what it kind of enables us to do as of like, why do we want to enable it in auth-lib and auth service? Why are we asking for this change? Is because the way that login and logout and session handling works right now is incomplete. There is no way to explicitly log out a user, which is done in Keycloak with a refresh token or an access token. And there is no endpoint exposed at auth-lib or auth service level for this, for any of the backends to be able to do that. And secondly,
Right.
what the refresh token allows us to do is it allows us to keep the user's session kind of rolling forward, as RF was saying, because generally we don't want the access tokens to have more than 5-10 minutes of time, expiry time, especially for any sensitive applications, any applications which are handling financial data. Right now, we have to have at least 1 hour of expiry time, but ideally 10 hours of expiry time for access token. So if an access token is stolen right now, you can imagine for 10 hours, the person who has that access token can do anything, because there is, at the auth-lib and auth service level, there is no logout. At the moment, there is
Yes.
only login. So that's the
Yes.
rationale there. And secondly, for the logout part, it will have to be implemented at the auth-lib and auth service levels anyway. I'm not sure if the Cybrand team has done that part. You said that there was a development that they have done for the Keycloak module that they are using. But the Keycloak service itself already takes care of this. The Keycloak has these
Right.
endpoints automatically enabled. And right now, Keycloak has refresh tokens enabled as well, which are being transmitted, captured by the auth-lib service, and then kind of decomposed. They're not being used. They're not being
Yeah.
transmitted forward to auth service to be forwarded to our backend. They're not being like stored anywhere. So that's kind of like the reason why we want to expand this functionality.
Okay. A quick question. So when we originally created the authentication service, the intention was for that to provide access to a client system to give Tazama the transaction data stream for evaluation purposes, right? And part of that was like we didn't want to have to force that client system to log in constantly, but we also had no real keep alive mechanism for that client system. How would the proposed change impact or benefit the original purpose of the authentication service and the token? So how do we, that particular token stays alive for an hour, but and we also don't want to overwhelm the Keycloak server with per transaction request. So it's almost like the session is alive for an hour, but then after that session expires, there's currently no real mechanism to refresh that session. Is the change that you're proposing here also going to be useful for the transaction monitoring service API?
Yes. So for the first part of it, the clients that the scope that you had before we started making web interfaces for it, when it was just APIs talking to each other, if you can imagine, or clients talking to each other silently without any kind of human having to log in, right? At that point, this functionality would have worked fine, but it's still, I would not recommend it as an appropriate approach. So the refresh token kind of takes care of not having to log in over and over again. Refresh
Right.
token, what it does is at the Keycloak end, there are 2 ways to authenticate a user. First, you send in a username and password, right? But the second is, and then you get an access token back. And the second way is to send a refresh token for an already logged in user, and then you get another refresh access token back. Sorry. So for
Right.
that mechanism, what you're asking is like extending the session time while keeping the access token time limited, right? So refresh token kind of takes care of that. Ideally, refresh tokens are very long lived. They for fintech applications, I would say they range from anything from 8 hours to 12 hours, but for general applications they can even live up to 30 days. And the intent behind this is that a session can be kept alive if it is being used. So if you imagine that in a client environment where there is no human logging in, but it's just APIs talking to each other, resources talking to each other. In that setup, if you have a refresh token which lives for 30 days, it can keep authenticating after some time. That depends on the implementation, how you are implementing that functionality on your end. If you talk about it, it's like a key cloak plugin, how you are handling the key cloak part at your end, right? So the refresh token will kind of roll forward the session as long as the refresh token is active. So for example, for the client environment, if it could be 30 days, it will keep the session active for 30 days. If it is 12 hours for a user, it will keep the user's session for 12 hours as well. But if the user steps out, let's say they're not using their computer, we don't want that 12-hour session to remain active, right? So what we want
Right.
is an explicit logout call there. The user, if they're
Okay.
not there for 5 minutes, we don't want the financial, we don't want the rule builder to be exposed. We don't want the connection studio to be exposed, right? So all of these things, they require a kind of a security protocol around the login and logout and session timeout kind of behavior. So for that, once again, a request refresh token is very appropriate, because if our access tokens have very short life and we detect that a user has been inactive for 5 minutes, we can log them out explicitly. And on the other hand, if a user has been working for 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours continuously, right, they are constantly working, then we can use the refresh token silently in the background to re-authenticate with Keycloak while keeping the session live. The 5 minutes time is not long enough to kind of like impact the user experience in a negative way, but it's not also short enough to overwhelm the Keycloak service. I feel like moderately like appropriate Keycloak configuration. There's a proposal for us. We are considering a few options. One of them is to be able to put a limit of 5 requests per IP per token for a Keycloak environment. Okay, so what that will
Right.
allow is and kind of like an appropriate behavior where the Keycloak service is not overwhelmed by a number of requests.
Okay. There is still
Right.
a slight difference for me
Yes.
between a end user, it's like a person, like a human person, needing to be kept alive, and also having to do their authentication. That kind of volume we are not too worried about. It's the impact of the volume of a system-to-system call where that ends up being at a very high volume. That's the one we were more worried about for overwhelming the Keycloak server. So it sounds like what we would need here also is a new endpoint on the authentication service API where you can give an explicit log off instruction to then terminate a session, right? I want to double check something with you. I am assuming that, well, I maybe shouldn't assume, but let me tell you how I think it should work. So if somebody is working on a front end and they are performing a specific function with the token and the claims or roles that they have, that role itself is also then validated against the token that they have to make sure that they have the proper authority to perform that function. And it is validated against the encrypted part of the token because somebody could modify the visible part of the token in the browser, and they could try and give themselves access and authority to services that they are not entitled. So there is some kind of verification that happens inside the front end against the token itself, right? One of the challenges that we had in the transaction monitoring service is we couldn't go back to the Keycloak server all the time to validate a request. So all we are doing is we are saying that you present the token that we gave you when you are making the transaction, and then we will check if the token contains the claim that allows you to perform that particular function at that particular endpoint. But there's no check against the backend server anymore. The weakness that we then have in the system here is if we find out that, for example, that token has been compromised, we currently don't have a mechanism to interrupt that token until it naturally expires. So is there a way, is this also a challenge that we have to deal with when users are being authenticated? And is there a way that we can also fix that problem?
Uh, Justice, I think now I get your point because now we are talking about two different kind of use cases because once now I think I am getting more sense of the Tazama token how it is implemented and why we are wrapping up key clock token into Tazama token Tazama token is there for TMS or high performing system like also in the dams. We need to ensure that we don't every time whenever a request come from FSP, so we don't go to like key clock to verify the token, and that's why
Yes.
expiry expires in is in place, so we can quickly check it and perform the action. So maybe at this point we might need two different kind of tokens. This is just one thought about it because now we are dealing at one side for the application that does not have any let's say credentials that needs to be provided because TMS or DAMs that needs to be work in a way that we if let's say if we keep refresh token mechanism into that TMS or DAMs part, so still refresh token or DAMs token refresh token needs to be expired maybe in a week or
Mm.
maybe in a month, and after that we need to like provide the user ID and password again to for the credentials so that we get the new refresh token, and then we get the new token every time when we pass the refresh token. So we might need two different kind of tokens here. One, the Tazama token, which is sufficient for us for covering the TMS and DAMS part. But another type of token is needed where we have refresh and access token functionality for web application.
Right. I see Ome has a question.
No, not necessarily a question. I just wanted to add a contribution to the question you asked. When I was working with the auth service and the auth lib, I noticed this problem in as much as it was stripping off some of the vital information coming from key clock. But now, because of the key clock server not to be overloaded, I think a bridge, anybody working with the auth service should be able to build a bridge because the key clock token contains some claims, and that claims is being used by the Tazama itself and other systems within the Tazama. So somebody can be able to, a developer can be able to fetch the token, and then you guys should be able to send a refresh token. With the refresh token, the person can decode the token, extract the claims, and embed it on a new token, and then continue with the session. I think that is one of the solutions we thought about from our own end when we were actually working with the auth service, building a bridge, a custom bridge. Whoever is consuming the APIs from Tazama should be able to build a bridge that creates a new token and they work with it while retaining the token from Tazama directly. All you need is just to extract your claims and work with it. I think that should work because it worked from my own end. Thank you.
Yes. I'm not sure if that handles the issue with the refresh and also the logout. I think even in the config service, if you are giving a logout instruction to the system, the front end, that logout instruction doesn't actually go through to the Keycloak server, so the user session or the token is actually still active. So if that user, for example, jumps into the middle application and provides that same token, they would still be able to continue the work. That's how I'm understanding the problem. Is that correct, Arif?
Yes, that is how it works right now. Also, to the key clock kind of wrapper that Ome was talking about, Authlib already provides that service. Even if you think about Authlib as a kind of a front end for Keycloak, right? It facilitates Authlib and Auth service. They facilitate conversation between backend and Keycloak. We don't need to go back to Keycloak for every access in the backend. like every API call, every event that happens within the Tazama system, we don't need to go to Keycloak for that. Not for the users and not for the clients, the APIs, which are the systems which are talking between each other for transaction services. If we extend the token functionality to include refresh tokens, what we can benefit from in the system is, like Arif said, our system would not need to be logged in. The clients, I mean the things which talk, servers talking to each other. For that, we won't need to re-log in to them for weeks or for even a whole month. That depends on how long we configure the refresh token to be alive. But we can implement but we can like still extend the functionality to the users, where sessions time out within the same configuration. The users sessions time out after 5 minutes. There is an explicit logout button. All of these will be facilitated by refresh token. And there are three endpoints which Arif has on his slides, which will kind of wrap this all into a usable login logout authentication system. So the refresh token part it's not really an endpoint, it's just an extension of the current system that is in authlib. But the verify Tazama token, this will be what we will be verifying is like an endpoint in Keycloak that will be that I can imagine would be implemented in authlib as /auth/verify. And then similar with logout. So these will be configured to be able to used explicitly by humans, or to be able to used implicitly. If you think of like things happening at a fixed time after every 30 days, we need to refresh, we need to make a new refresh token because we want to keep our applications safe, or we want to like have a system where we verify the token that is currently in use after every 12 hours, right? So whatever functionality you want to implement, which is kind of like an authentication architecture, you can do that with basically a login functionality with refresh token, a verify endpoint, and a logout endpoint.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So basically, just to summarize, these are the three changes. We would need to expose endpoints to perform these functions on the authentication service API, and then carry those changes, sort of backfill them into the authlib, and then also into the Keycloak plugin itself. Although you did say the Keycloak plugin already presents some of this information, so we may not have to do all of that work, but we do need to access the Keycloak API functions from within the authlib to be able to handle things like, for example, the log out and also the verification. I just want to double check here. We did mention the possibility of creating two separate token types, almost a system service token and a user service token. Are we able to propose that as a solution, or is that something that still requires some investigation here?
Yes, so this requires some investigation as well, because right now this is one of the possibility that we are talking about, but still we need to see that whether it is a feasible option, or if by implementing these three endpoints and just adding the refresh token into the Tazama token as well, so we can see that if that approach would work for us or not. So I think this is the part that we need to check and revert back to you on this.
Okay. I want to throw this out to the rest of our audience today as well. Does anybody else have any questions, concerns, musings? Greg, anything in particular from you?
Yeah, in particular, I sent you a chat that covered this. I'll work it out. I also have to worry about the role-based access control in case management. So we need to worry about how we want to do that, and for example, what's that thing called that FinOS has, Fluxbar, how they did it there, and that's Commanda, so that's pretty forked to the conversion we're using. Um, we're gonna have to think about that because this is just the first thing I think you guys are gonna run into. Yeah. So do we have to somehow handle control between, systems that already exist or not? Because as you've already stated, this is a very, very limited function. It covered a services scenario, not an end user scenario.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
my understanding here is that this is a problem that is universal across the system's user interfaces. So that would include the case investigation management. It would include the rule studio. It would include the connection studio, the configuration studio. All of those
Yeah.
would have the same, it would be in scope for this particular change, or
It
that
really,
it would be
it really,
impacted.
it really should be. You can probably take in two phases, but it's all combined. You
Yeah.
gotta, you're gonna have to do it all. Oh,
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, no, perfect. That makes sense.
all right.
Um, any other questions from anybody else? I don't know at this point if we can make a decision without maybe also just completing the rest of the investigation and then putting together a complete requirement specification and scope of work for the work here. But in principle, this doesn't sound like something that I have an objection to. And then maybe also just Greg and Matt, if either of you have had an allergic reaction to anything today, please let me know.
No, I think this can be done. I don't have an issue. I just think it's a little bigger than we currently have a scope. We
Okay.
can take care of this one problem, but you're going to quickly run into having the next problem. So, um, yeah, I just think it all should be solved right now, and definitely with that in mind. If phases needs the first part quicker, you can do it in phases, but um, how to handle case management or user interaction in general needs to be added in.
Okay. Yeah. Sandy and I will, I think, also work with the team just to outline maybe the user stories for this. I think in terms of the project, it'll end up being some sort of spike, but we'll also work that out with the project team. This wasn't work that they originally anticipated as part of their project plan, so may come through as a scope change request. And then Matt, I can see you're driving and you're on mute, so if you want to throw a thumbs up or a thumbs down at the camera, that is also okay. Yeah, you're on mute. Okay, we'll talk about it later. Matt does not have any immediate concerns that makes him want to go off mute yet. But we will bring this back, I think, to a another technical steering committee meeting as well, just to review and ratify the proposed change. And I guess that will be in about 2 weeks' time. But for now, thank you very much to the PACES team for having picked up this issue. I think this is a proactive change and a solid approach. Let's work through it in the next week and then see if we can refine it into a presentable specification.
Thank you. Thank you, Justice, and thank you, Emmett, for your findings.
Yeah, thank you very much. And
Thanks,
then in
everyone.
terms of our agenda for today, I don't have anything else that I want to go through today. I did mention that we are going to try and expand our TSC audience. So in the next 2 weeks, we are going to actively recruit from amongst our existing contributors and users of the system. So we will hopefully have a much bigger group in 2 weeks' time. I'm really looking forward to that and everybody else's participation. So thank you very much, everybody, for your time today. Have a great Thursday. Thanks all.
Okay, thank you.
And
Thanks, Justice.